Welcome back everybody to part 2 of this super awesome tutorial on how we're going to bring in a vehicle into Unreal, into Renegade X actually, and we're going to pick up where we left off. We have the medium tank example asset open. I'm going to bring in my geometry and scale it accordingly to the medium tank just because it's easier that way rather than trying to figure out the scale on your own. So let's go ahead and bring that in. I have it somewhere, gotta find it. Vehicle store, there it is. So tank. Now I am the lead artist of Rengade-x, so everything I make has to look awesome, and this is no exception. This is our super badass mega tank. That's right. Let me scale it from the root so that it's staying level. Yeah, so this is our massive awesome tank. You can see why I'm the lead artist, just because, you know. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of everything in here. We're gonna start from scratch. The only reason I'm bringing this guy into the medium tank rig is because I just want to keep that scale. So where is this guy located? Is he in the default? He's in the default. Okay. So I'm just going to select them all the other layers. So it selects everything. Delete. Get rid of them. Double check to see what's in here, and it's only the geometry of our tank. Perfect. So now we can actually go ahead and get started. So because I scaled it up, you'll notice that the scale is off. We're going to go ahead and zero everything out. So let's go ahead and apply a reset X form. And now, whoa, what? Did I not apply? No, I didn't. There you go. Now collapse it down, and there you go. Everything is zeroed out. It's 100% scale. Perfect. Let's go ahead and move the pivot point to 0, 0, 0. Not for any reason, just for OCD. Yeah, that happens when you're rigging stuff. You gotta make sure that everything is zeroed out. It's easier and makes everybody's life easier. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing is we have our tank. I chose the tank because I wanted to show you guys how to include the textures that spin or rather pan whenever you're driving around in a vehicle or in a tank, because that's kind of important. So first thing I'm going to do is set up the material IDs. So we need to have our base material, whatever the textures that are going to be used for the tank. So this is this part, all the selected areas. We're going to go ahead and set that to 1. So that's going to be our base material. Our tank tracks are going to be different ones, and they're going to be different ones for each side. So this is going to be number 2, and this is going to be number 3. So all in all, we have 3 different material IDs, and we're going to set up different materials on both of them, because one is going to, if we set up the same one for both of them, if these are both set to 2, what's going to end up happening is we're not going to get the sides. So for example, when you're turning, the code knows which one to turn backwards, which one to turn forwards, so it looks right. Otherwise you're just going to have them turning in the same direction every single case. That's not what we want. So again, one is going to be set to 2, and the other one's set to 3. So just go ahead and apply a basic material to it so that when we export, it registers the different material IDs. So I'm going to go ahead and save as, just so we can keep track. I've done this rig tutorial already once. I kind of missed a few parts, so I'm doing it again just so we cover all of our bases. Okay, so let's get down to the actual rig. What we're going to do is we're going to use helper bones to quickly set up where we need whichever bones rather. So go under your create tab, you're going to find helpers, and we're just going to use dummies. So I'm going to just go ahead and make a few really quickly. Oop, I accidentally unselected it. So that's a root, our main turret pitch, firebone, and let's just go ahead and set up all of these. So again, naming convention, it's really up to you, whatever you want to name them. I'm going to call my root bone B_root, zeroed out, and put it roughly on the center of the tank. That looks about center to me. Let's look at the main turret yaw control. So that would be whatever you want to call it. I'm going to keep it as main turret yaw, just because it means I have to do less, or rather, you know what, B turret yaw. There you go. That's the name. Let's go ahead and center it to this cylinder. So it's on 0, 0. Perfect. So there we go. Dead center. Next up is the pitch control, which is going to control the barrel. So let's name it B_turret_pitch. And let's go to the side view. Zero this out. And we'll put it somewhere there. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to make it perfect, you can make it perfect. It's good enough for me right now. So lastly, we have the fire locator, or the muzzle flash locator. So let's call this B_turret_fire. Going to align it to the pitch bone, so it's already centered out. Let's move it forward to where the actual projectile is going to spawn from. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and link them up. So the fire bone is going to be hooked up to the pitch bone, so we're getting this movement. Next up, the pitch bone is going to be linked to the main turret control bone, which is going to give us the rotating movement. And then let's hook up the turret bone to our root so that everything moves together. Cool. Let's make another helper. Let's make two helpers. A bigger one and a smaller one, just so we can see. So one is going to be our suspension bone, which is going to move up the tank tracks. The other one is going to be our wheel bone, which is just going to spin the wheels. So let's go ahead and name them accordingly. So B wheel front right, or name them however you like, it's really up to you. I'm going to grab the coordinates for the X and Z and Y, just so we can center it out. So grab that. It's probably easier to copy these somewhere and then paste them together, but whatever works for you. So we now know that this bone is perfectly in center with this piece of geometry, which is exactly what we want. If it's off by a little bit, then your wheel is going to wobble as it spins. You don't want that. It needs to be dead center. And I'm just going to align the other bone directly in the middle as well. Okay, so that's our wheel bone. And the other one's going to be our suspension bone. So I'm just going to copy and paste the name and change wheel to suspension. That's it. And let's copy them to the other wheels. So let's grab the X position. Duplicate this bone. This is going to be rear right, so RR, and put in the coordinates. Do the same thing with the suspension bone, RR, rear right, and align it. Same thing on the other side. So this would be front left. And do the same thing with suspension bone. Left. It's aligned. And the last wheel. So rear left. That's it, that's all the bones we need. Simple, right? I thought so. So let's go ahead and select all of our wheel and suspension bones and link them to the root bone. So now all of our bones move together, but the wheels and suspension bones are completely independent. And what we're going to do when we get to the editor, we're going to tell our suspension bone to follow in just the position constraint of, or basically what we're going to be doing is simulating the idea of a position constraint. So anytime I move the wheel bone, the other bone is going to follow, but the suspension bone isn't linked to it, so I'm just going to undo that. The reason why is because then we can rotate our wheel bone independently and it's not going to affect the suspension bone. Okay, let's get this thing skin weighted. So apply a skin modifier, add the bones, and open up the weight tool. I actually didn't know what the name was. I haven't used Max in a while. Alright, let's go ahead and select vertices and select by element, just because that's going to make our lives easier. Select everything and skin weight everything to the root bone. That's how we're going to start off. So we know that we don't miss any component. Now we have the turret control. We're going to hook up that main cylinder. So select the vertices of the cylinder, hook it up. We're not going to hook up anything to the pitch because we're going to apply the recoil motion on this bone. So we're going to hook up the barrel to the fire bone. So there we go. So even though, whoa, sorry, my keyboard just spazzed out. So because this bone is hooked up to this bone, anytime this one gets rotated, it's going to rotate that one. So all is well, it's not going to mess anything up, and we still get to keep that the recoil motion. Cool. Let's set up our wheels and our, what's the other one? Suspension. That's right. So front right. That one gets hooked up there. Wheel right. Rear left. Or sorry, rear left. Yes, rear left. And then front left. Sweet. So I'm going to select the entire tank track, and I'm going to hook it up to the front left for now. So everything is skin weighted to the front left. I'm going to disable select elements so that I can deselect the vertices at the front. And then, where is it? This guy? Yeah, so this is our suspension rear left, and I'm going to skin weight the back vertices, which are still selected. So we get that nice line between. Let's do that on the other side. So select by element, select the entire tank track, not that one, this one. Right, and we want to go for front right. front right suspension bone, skin weight, unselect select elements, and then find the rear right suspension bone. Skin weight that. There we go. Everything is skin weighted. So our suspension moves the tank tracks up and down, and the wheels are going to be spinning. Oops. Perfect. So let's just make sure that they're all skin weighted. Suspension and wheels, wheel, and suspension. Everything looks good. Sweet. Okay, that's pretty much all we need to do inside of Max. So, if you're using Actor X, we're gonna... Actually, you know what? I'll show you how to just export out of FBX, because it's so darn simple. Export, FBX, figure out where you want to place it. So I'm gonna go to Vehicle Tutorial. Name it whatever the heck you want. I'm going to call it Super Tank because that's what I named it in the first attempt at this tutorial. So that's it. We want to keep our smoothing groups. Split per vertex normal, that's not necessary. We want to keep our tangents. We want to make sure Z is up because if you're using Maya, then Maya does the Y up thing. Don't need to worry about anything else because when we import it into Unreal, it's going to just give us an option as to what we want to import. So just hit OK. Done. Now I'm going to do it from Actor X as well, just so I can show you how to do that. So under Utilities, if you haven't added it already, once you load your script up, you have to create a new button and then add Actor X to it. I've already done it, so I'm not going to add a second one. So Actor X, and we're going to go ahead and set up our path where it's going to export. So use path. Select the name. I have it as sk_vh_supertank, and we need to keep a few things checked. Persistent settings and persistent paths, they need to be enabled. All skin types, so meaning everything, all the geometry that's skin weighted, we want to export that. All textured, if there's a piece of geometry in here that's textured, export it. Only selected means export. Everything that's only selected is pretty obvious, I think. Force or ref pose t equals 0. I'm assuming this is actually meant for characters. I honestly have no clue what that is. Tangent UV splitting. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know it did that, but anyways, we don't need to worry about that. And bake smoothing groups, yes, we want to do that. And the important one to not keep unchecked, or to not keep checked, is call unused dummies. We don't want this enabled. Generally, the reason why is what this will do. If we have, for example, in our medium tank, we have our dummy bones. So our morph target bones, for example, they're not actually skin weighted to anything. So they're not actually doing anything, but we need to keep them when we export. Otherwise, when this thing is checked, then it's going to remove anything that isn't skin weighted, or anything that's not skin weighted to any bone. So because we don't even have any of those, we don't need to worry about it. But if you notice that you're exporting out something and it's removing some of the bones that you need, this is probably the reason why. So just make sure this is unchecked, and that's all you need to do. So now we're going to go ahead and save mesh ref pose. This is going to export out a thing, what's it called? A PSK file. So this is the skeletal mesh file that Unreal uses. And that's about it. We've exported it out. Okay, so that's it. That kind of wraps up the max rigging tutorial. The next one we're going to be going over how to import your geometry into Unreal. We're going to set up all of our main editor components that we need. So we're going to set up things like our animation tree, which is going to basically be our mediator between our art and our code. So it's going to communicate with both of them and make sure everything hooks up properly. We're going to set up our collision, we're going to set up all of our sockets, all that fun stuff. We'll go over in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.